What is mental health?
Like, it has always been there, but I guess people are more open about talking about it now. People need to think like mental health as the same way as they treat physical health. If you don't rest, your body will kind of choose to rest for you, and you don't really want to get to that point.
After COVID, a lot of people have gotten like social anxiety.
Especially in Melbourne, because like we were in lockdown for like more than a year. I think that is also one of the reasons that caused all these like the rise in like mental health issues.
There's an added pressure to have a particular lifestyle.
Everybody only posts the positive things and the nice things, even though everybody has good and bad days.
Mental health issues are increasing or on a rise is because of social media.
Social media, like you never know. Especially in Australia, like a lot of people are doing like multiple jobs. You kind of forget to make time for yourself. You will just keep on doing things and keep doing things. And it reaches a point when your body will literally stop.
Welcome to another episode of Australia Unfiltered, where we have candid and insightful conversations with people living in Australia. This series is powered by Anka Cookie Co and Dropout Chaiwala, and we would love to give a special thanks to Aussies Group for this amazing podcast space. So today, we will be talking about Mental Health 101 in Australia with Michelle. Michelle is a game developer with 15 years of experience in programming, design and production. She's got various titles like GameIndustry.biz, 100 Future Talent, Xbox Woman in Gaming, Game Changer, and many more. She recently completed her PhD in design, developing video games about mental health at RMIT University. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming and thank you for reaching out. I think we came across each other on LinkedIn. We didn't know each other. The power of social media.
Exactly. Just like randomly adding people on LinkedIn and then seeing people in person for the first time. It's like, oh.
Yeah. Anyway, let's dive into today's topic. Actually, before we dive into today's topic, why are we even talking about mental health? And I'll tell you why I want to talk about mental health. So thank you for reaching out. I feel in recent times, there's a crazy surge of mental health issues in a lot of people. Like how we were having a conversation earlier, like I was mentioning, a lot of my friends are being diagnosed with ADHD in recent times. And I'd say one in every three is getting diagnosed with ADHD amongst my friends. Have you seen that as well?
I think like, so when people think about mental health, so it's like we all have physical health, but everybody has mental health. So and mental health is kind of like a spectrum. So in the way that we get sick, like physically sick, we can also get mentally ill. And like people need to think that it's something everybody has, and like it has always been there. And like the problems have always been there, but I guess because people are more open about talking about it now, then more and more people are reporting that yes, they actually realize that, oh, there is something. Like, because like for example, like ADHD, like these are things like you would probably have experienced as a kid. Like and like the child, they'll be like, they'll think, oh, maybe there's something wrong with me. But because there's no label or there's no like people talking about it, they just think that they're alone and they're the only ones having these feelings. And then once you start talking about it, you realize like, oh, I wasn't weird after all. Like there are other people who also feel the same way.
True.
And,
True. Like when you're on like on TikTok or Reels, and they're like, oh, if you have these symptoms, you have ADHD, and you're like, shit.
Yeah, I was like, oh, like I'm not weird after all. Other people are also going through the same thing.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And I agree. Like I feel when I was younger, I didn't even know there was something called as ADHD.
Yeah, exactly.
Like what the hell, ADHD? Like the only thing that I knew about like depression or like anxiety. Anxiety was also like, okay, anxiety, like whatever, like so what, you can overcome it, just be stronger. People didn't realize like panic attacks or anxiety, and like I believe before they were looked at, now they're taken care of because it's spoken more about, and it's like eased into our lives. But I feel I don't know, maybe correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
But I feel because there's so much more talk and awareness about it. People are like, oh, I also have ADHD. I also have ADHD. I also have ADHD. Like, people have that FOMO syndrome, is what I'd say. They're like, oh, I don't want to miss out on not having something.
Yeah.
Do you think that's also happening?
So I'm from that part wherein there's like formal like psychology that's based on a lot of like research, like white research, but I'm coming from the perspective of like a psychosocial perspective, which is for people like you don't necessarily have to get a diagnosis. Like you can self-identify with something. It's like we are humans and we also know ourselves. And also like psychologists is also kind of expensive.
It's so expensive.
Yeah. So
a friend of mine recently, he got his thing done for ADHD or he got diagnosed as neurodivergent. It was really expensive. It was like $1,200 at minimum. And plus you don't get appointments. He got an appointment because his partner works in healthcare and knew someone. Or otherwise he was getting an appointment for like 3 to 4 months after.
That's so common. It's kind of hard because like, yes, people are all opening about it and be like, yes, okay, we need help. But then the services, it's not enough to like actually cater to everyone.
Yes.
Which is why at least there's a lot of like alternatives out there, like different apps or different like toolkits that people can use. Or even like just generally talking to other people also helps quite a bit.
What are these alternative apps, or do you know any that you could recommend?
There's quite a lot. So I personally don't use any. I used to do like a meditation app, but then I stopped but there's for some people they find it useful. Like I personally think that everybody have like their own ways of coping.
Yep.
And there's things like some people like go for a walk, and exercise is actually healthy for people, or like eating healthier, sleep better. But it's all very like individualized, like it's based on what you know. So I think like it's more of developing your personal toolkit of like, and also recognizing when things are getting bad for yourself, and then knowing what makes you feel better and knowing what support that you can get. And it does, like there's like the professional mental health support that you can get, which also has problems because it's so hard to get an appointment. But there's also like that immediate family, friends that you can get support from as well. So know who your people are. Yeah.
But sometimes, people are even though there's like so much awareness about mental health, people are scared. Like just even talk to their friends or family. Like it's like, shit, am I like,
I think,
am I neurodivergent? Is it okay to be neurodivergent? Or do I have like depression? Is it okay? Or any other mental health issues? All of those things, and you're like, is it okay? Is it fine?
Yeah.
Some people are open about it and they're more than happy to share and talk about it, but some people are yet scared.
Yeah, they're like there have been so much stigma. So I'm from an Asian country.
Yeah.
So there is so much stigma about that. And like so I'm from the Philippines and it is a Christian country. So sometimes when you open up about that, a lot of people should be like, just pray and everything will be okay. I was like, yeah, I prayed, but that's not.
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know what that reminds me? So I'm from India, and in India there were these comedians, and they created this, they made this video on YouTube, which went really viral. It was like, what if people treated mental health issues like physical health issues?
Yeah.
So in that, it's like, supposing you have fever, okay? What if people treated physical health issues like how they treat mental health issues? So supposing you have fever or you have typhoid, and then some friend comes like, oh, don't worry, you were laughing yesterday, how can you have typhoid today? You were texting, how do you have typhoid? It's like, oh my God, don't tell the neighbors that you have typhoid or if you have fever. Like they made made it a reverse thing so that people would realize that you can't, like it's the same thing. You can't be like, oh, you have typhoid and depression, but you need to treat them equally. You can't be like, oh, you have typhoid, so it can be normal. But if you have depression, you need to hide it. Why do you need to hide it? So that was really great awareness. And as you said, like you can't pray.
Exactly.
It's like you have typhoid and can someone tell you to pray?
That's not like that's not gonna help.
Yeah,
Like,
you got.
exactly.
If you had COVID, if someone tells you to pray, it's not
Yeah.
gonna be fine. You need to take medicine. You can't be like, oh,
Yeah,
pray
yeah.
for it.
I think like people need to think like really think about like mental health as the same way as they treat physical health. And
Yeah.
that it's okay. Like, yes, it's okay to take a sick day. It's also okay to take a mental health day. Because if you don't, like some people say like, if you don't rest, your body will kind of choose to rest for you. And you don't really want to get to that point. It's like realizing, oh, things are getting bad and need to know when to stop before you go. And like in terms of like people who overwork themselves and like and also like during COVID, it was like everybody's pretty bad. Like,
Oh yes, agree.
yeah.
It was COVID was really. I think after COVID, a lot of people have gotten like social anxiety
Yeah.
because they've gotten so not used to meeting people and just
Yeah.
being there or on the screen.
It's so different. And also just like that during, I think, especially in Melbourne, because like we were, what,
my
in
God.
lockdown for like more than a year. And
I know.
let's not talk about that. But I think that is also one of the reasons that caused all these, like the rise in like mental health issues. Because like if you lock everybody in like the state, like you can't even go out. You can only like I was living alone at that time.
Okay.
It was crazy. Like I had like no human connection.
Yeah, true. It's
Yeah.
you know, forget humans, even pets. People who got
Oh,
pets during that
yeah.
time, they have social anxiety.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have social anxiety to meet dogs. They have social anxiety to meet humans.
Yeah.
And even though like pets are like so social in nature, mostly depending on the breed.
Yeah, yeah.
But so many of them have social anxiety. They have anxiety to be left, separation anxiety.
Yeah,
they have
'cause
all of these things.
You're like so used to just being in the little space, and suddenly like you're like, oh, we
The
need
world is your
to-
thing, and you're like, oh my god, shit! I need to talk to people.
Yeah, we need to go out now. And then like going like after COVID and then being around a lot of people, it's really a lot because then I think it changed our mindset quite a bit, and like just that isolation and even knowing like where do you even find a connection. Like
Yep.
I was in uni at that time, horrible times.
Oh, same. I was in uni as well.
Yeah.
Horrible times. True.
It's like imagine going to uni for like, so I was there for 4 years and then 2 of it is like completely online and you don't see anyone.
Oh my god! You know what was the worst thing is when we had online classes.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
was 1 year I had on campus and 1 year in online.
Yeah.
People used to not turn on their cameras.
I never.
I used to feel you should
Yeah.
not turn on your camera. Oh my god! I'm sorry, but I used to not like
Sorry.
those kind of people.
I know. I'd be on my phone.
I used to turn on my camera just for the professor because
Yeah, yeah.
the professor's teaching to a blank screen because not a single student
yeah,
has
yeah.
turned on their camera and he's just like he or she are just teaching and I'm like this is so disrespectful. So I used to just
Yeah.
turn on my camera in respect to like the professors.
Yeah, at least they know they're talking to someone.
At least
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
one human face to look at because I'm like imagine myself.
Yeah.
I'm giving a speech and I'm giving a talk and everyone's cameras are off and I'm like
Yeah.
like what's the expression, are they understanding, and no one's responding, you're just like
Yeah.
talking, so eventually then it's like really bad quality of even though they
Yeah.
don't want to give bad quality of education, but when they're talking on blank screen, what the hell do you expect them, how do you expect them to give like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
good quality of
There's no, like, you don't know if the students are actually listening. You, like, there's no, like, interaction at all.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I unfortunately did all, so because I did a PhD, so I was doing a lot of like research, like a lot of talks, because they were all online. Like I pre-recorded all of them, and then so during the conferences they'll just play my video, and I was like, and there's no interaction either. Even though there's like a chat that I can see, like, oh yeah, people are actually listening, but you never know. Like even my final like presentation, it
Yep.
was all like a recorded video,
Oh.
and I don't even see if I have an audience or not, because they don't, like, it was a Microsoft like Teams Live, so I don't see if there's anybody actually there listening.
Oh my god.
It was really weird. And then because of my research, it's about mental health. It's about
Yeah.
like, and a lot of it is like I'm opening up to you. I'm telling you about my experiences, and to not see somebody's like
Yeah.
reaction, it's really weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You were being personal.
Yeah. Mhm.
So that just got me thinking actually.
Yeah.
What was your journey and like why did you choose mental health? Because I know I read
Yeah.
like I've read your description and I know all of this. You were into like
Yeah.
you know, programming and all of these things, and you've got so many titles in gaming. How did mental health become a part of your journey?
I think it's more of a personal experience because then I was working in games for a long time and I felt like, yeah, games are fun, but then I don't feel like I'm contributing anything to the world.
Okay.
So I had a little bit of a quarter life crisis and I kind of moved to the UK and I was like, okay, I still want to do games,
Yep.
but I want to make games that I care about.
Okay.
And then unfortunately that time I was depressed. So
How did you, sorry,
Yeah.
to cut you, but how did you know that you were depressed? Like, did you get diagnosed? Did you check symptoms?
No.
Or how did you know
I think
that?
it was more like there was like a Google, there's like a Google quiz to like
Are these
self-diagnose.
actually like good? These Google quizzes, like you find on Google. How do you know which is
Yeah.
more, which is reliable?
I think they actually developed it with someone. Don't quote me, and I'm not sure who they developed it with, but they have like different quiz. I think it was like Google itself who came up with it. And then during that time I was also doing a lot of like research on my own, and I was like doing all these psychology courses and like reading about things. But because I come up from like an Asian country who don't talk about things,
Yep.
there's a lot of times you just kind of feel like you're all alone and so I never really got like a formal diagnosis. And
Yep.
since going to the PhD, because my supervisor is in the psychosocial, like social studies space, she's like, like there are a lot of people who don't get a diagnosis, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Okay.
like it's so I just say like I self-identify with like having these things, and yeah, also yeah, based on the symptoms and like my experiences. I think a lot of people self-diagnose now based on like TikTok. And you'd be like,
Oh my God,
yeah, you're like, oh, I
the-
do this too.
True.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
other day, me and my best friend, we were sitting and we came across this
Yeah.
TikTok or a reel. I'm like, these symptoms are like, okay, they're like, if you have this, you have ADHD. And we were like, okay, we have this, we have this, we
Yeah.
have this, and we have this. So then we're like, shit, we have all of these. Do we have ADHD? Like
Yeah.
we think we have ADHD, but we're
Yeah.
not sure if we have ADHD. Because just
Yeah.
like, you know, to get diagnosis, and these days so many people have ADHD, so you're like not sure.
Yeah.
And then her sister-in-law is she has studied psychology. So
Yeah.
we told her that, you know, these were this, you know,
Yeah,
these
yeah.
were what we thought, and we think we have ADHD. So she
Yeah.
was like, no, that's not true. You need to get a proper diagnosis. Then you can, like, you can't just self-identify yourself. There were like two schools. What do you think is right and wrong?
I don't think there's a right or wrong. Yeah, because there's a lot of like different people's experiences and like a lot of thoughts about it. Because with like traditional psychology, it is also like based on a lot of white research.
Okay.
So like a lot of things may not necessarily apply to like Asians or people from other diverse backgrounds, because like traditionally research was just not done on people who look like us.
True.
So and there's also like different schools of thought about it, and I
Yep.
don't really necessarily say one is right and one is wrong, because there is like a lot of there's also a lot of problems with just randomly self-diagnosing as well, but it also depends on how you're treating that self-identification.
Yep.
Like one, it's good that when you see like, oh, these are some of the things that these people have, I also have that, then it makes you feel that you're not alone in your experiences, and that helps with a lot of like self-stigma.
Yep. True.
And that, you know, like, oh, I can't talk about these things because I feel like if I say these things, people would have these still judgments or like these stuff that
Yep.
they'll think about me.
Probably. Someone also the other day, so I was talking to someone and I'm like, shit, you know, I think I have ADHD because I have these symptoms.
Yeah.
And that person was like, you know, you're just reading all of this and it's a placebo effect that's creating in your mind. Do you think that happens?
It can be as well, but I think like if you can have to reflect on a lot of your experiences like growing up, because like when I was a kid, I feel like everybody's, when they think about ADHD, they'll think like, oh, the naughty kid in class, the one that doesn't like
Yeah.
focus, the one who's like just like really like agitated all the time. But so there's a lot of like negative perceptions that
Yep,
people
true.
now think, but really like ADHD is like a superpower because they're able to do a lot of things and like multitask quite efficiently and like put their attention two different things.
Yep.
And instead of thinking of it as something negative, think about it of like something that can be helpful.
Yep, true. I think that's how I'm a great multitasker.
Yeah,
Because I think I have
maybe.
ADHD and I'm like thinking at one point of time, I'm thinking of 10 things and I'm doing one thing I started and I'm like, shit, let's move to this, then go back there and then do this. I'm like so much all over the place, but everywhere as well. Like, it's,
Yeah.
it's good in a way, no doubt, but it's also messy.
Yeah. But I feel like if you find a way to make it work for you,
Yep.
then that's all right. Yeah.
True. Agreed. I need to find a way. It is working out. I wouldn't say it's not working out.
Yeah.
But yet you need to find like the right way or the right thing. I remember you also saying this earlier that there's like 1 in 5 people in
Yeah.
Australia or around the world
Yeah.
are getting diagnosed with mental health.
Yeah, so that it's just like a statistic that people say it's like 1 in 5 people will experience a mental health like disorder at some point in their lives, and well, that is also based on like what's reported. So a lot of people don't actually seek help, so they might
Yep.
not be in that statistic, and like at the end of the day, that's still just a statistic. And like as I said, like everybody has these like mentally good days and mentally bad days, so it is like knowing like when those
Yep.
bad days are.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people, at least me growing up, like because we don't talk about a lot of things, you feel
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm alone. And that feeling of you're being alone exacerbates it even more because you feel like, oh, I'm the only person with these experiences. Like you don't know where to seek help, you don't know what to do. Well, once people start opening up, like, so because
Yep.
I'm from an Asian household,
Yep.
I don't really like. I've never really talked to my parents about it until
Okay.
I did my master's and I made this whole game about depression. And I was like telling my mom, "Hey, yeah, I made this game and now I'm gonna do a PhD about mental health." And she's like, "Yeah, I had postpartum depression when I had you."
Oh.
And like those type of things is like it would have been helpful if you had told me, like that you also went through these things because like
it's
right?
probably like in an Asian, because I was coming from an
Yeah,
Asian
yeah.
background. I feel it's like it's not a nice thing. Like
Yeah.
you're going to depression, that's like a bad thing.
yeah.
It's I'm not saying it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's not a
but
good-
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
a bad thing as
Exactly.
well. It's not a bad thing. It's okay. Like it
Exactly.
happens in life. You'd rather get help or you'd rather speak about it than not speak about it. And if you know someone, as you said earlier
Yeah.
as well, that if you knew your mom had it, you might have spoken to her.
Exactly.
She might have maybe understood it. Or
Yeah.
she wouldn't have understood, at least speaking to your parent, however old you get, when you're telling your parent that
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
this
yeah.
and they're understanding it, like even 1%, it gives like a sense of satisfaction.
Exactly. It's such a good thing because like a lot of times you have these expectations, especially like from like an Asian background. Everybody has like you have to be a certain way
Yep.
for people to accept you, and then that adds so much pressure. And you're
Agreed.
like, oh, I have to always be this person. Like I always have to like be. And so, but then you end up feeling like you have to put a mask on all the time, and you have to be a certain person.
Yep.
And you're hiding a lot of parts of yourself.
Yep, true. I also feel, coming from an Asian background,
Yeah.
there's so many things that as in childhood that we face that we
Yeah.
think it's fine.
Exactly. And you're like, oh. And then when you move to a different country, you're like, oh, it's not okay to hit your children.
Hitting children is like another,
yeah.
even like the smallest thing, you
Yeah.
know, like there's so many things that you're like feeling lonely and
Yeah.
it comes to this and you're like, shit, maybe I was depressed at that point of time. And at that time, you think that, oh, it's fine, I am
Yeah.
strong, I will get through it. It happens to everyone, but it doesn't happen to everyone.
Yeah.
You're literally alone and you need help. But because it's like, so what? It's like, so?
Yeah.
Get along with your life. You have so much to achieve.
Exactly.
So much to
deal
do.
with it and move on.
Yeah.
And then, but it adds up, right?
It adds up.
Yeah,
It's like literally filling, like, you know, a pressure cooker. Slowly the pressure keeps on filling in and then one day it blasts.
Yeah. And
That's
then,
what happens.
And then you're like, oh, suddenly
Oh.
you can't do anything.
Exactly, and that's worse.
Yeah. And if you had like even just like seeked help or like talked about it or like prevented it from going to that point. And I feel like nowadays it's like recognizing things about yourself, like knowing things like not necessarily like, oh, I need to like get a diagnosis or something. Just understanding who you are and what are the things that may trigger you, what are the things that can get you into so like that spectrum, like that will push you to that side, and like knowing like what works for you.
True. Yep. Okay. No, that's a great thing. But just, I wanted to step one step back. We've been talking so much about mental health. What is even mental health? That's like a big question. Like, I didn't know till off lately that ADHD is also a mental health thing. Or all of like, even I came across ADHD very recently. In recent years. But what is mental health? Like,
it's like everything to do with your like. So you have your like physical body and then your brains and everything that's like all the emotions. So like it's like a state. So mental health is like it's a vital part of our health and well-being. And so WHO, they kind of define it as like the state of well-being where you could recognize like your abilities, like you're able to function well, you're able to cope with things, and you're able to like contribute to your community. Like just being in that state wherein you're a functional like human being. And like so anything that's like not physical related, so everything with your emotions, and there's also that your emotions, CBT, so it's like your thoughts influence your emotions and your actions. So it's all kind of tied into each other in a way. So it's like sometimes when you're like depressed or you're anxious, there are physical manifestations of it as well. So kind of like that.
So it's very broad.
There is also that white psychology that has like that definitions of what different mental illness is, but like I would just think about it as like everything to do with our brains.
Okay. So you'd say there are two school of thoughts, like kind of is what, like I'm trying to pick it up, correct me if I'm wrong again. One is the white psychology part of it, and one is the new modern age of a multicultural part of mental health awareness that's growing.
And more like based on like people's lived experiences. And I think like focusing on people and their experiences and knowing that everybody has different experiences.
True. On that, I was just thinking, why is mental health even important? Like, because I was just, we come from Asian backgrounds. Like, as you said, as we spoke, that just deal with it. But why is it important? Like, why is mental health even important to, figure out or, be recognized or work on it? Why is it important?
Well, I personally think because, like, even though... So like we get physically sick sometimes, right? But when you're like mentally unwell, so it's like depression. Like one of the symptoms of depression is like you're not functioning. Like things that are in your brain that just make you physically not function. Like during COVID, that was the worst of times. Where like there are days when I was just literally sitting there and like just not capable of doing anything. And it's like I want to, but like I know I should, but there's just like a lot of things that's going in my brain that's like physically unable to actually do things and be a functional human being. So I feel like if you're sick, people will just be like, rest. But if you're like depressed and you're clearly not functioning, you're not doing anything, that's you can't like just like push it down and like I guess like before people were like, just get on with it. And if you just keep on getting on with it, your body will tell you like,
I also think just a random thought in my head that just popped up right now is why mental health issues are increasing or on a rise, or why it's also more important in today's time is because of social media.
It is.
I feel probably there was mental health issues in olden times, like previous, I'm going to say like 20, 30 years ago, 100% like years for centuries, I'm so sure was going on. But there was no social media. So there was a little less comparison of life on social media compared, like there was obviously going on. But through social media, like, oh my God, that person's traveling. Oh my God, this person's doing this. Or, oh my God, this person bought a house. You can literally know everything in one go, and you're sitting on your couch in like your PJs. So you're just like pushing yourself more and more down is what I feel social media is. I believe one of the causes of like mental health issues.
And because on social media, like everybody only posts the positive things and the nice things.
I know.
So like even though everybody has good and bad days, if you're only seeing everyone having like the best time of their lives, you kind of like put like blinders on. You're like, oh,
Oh my God,
like,
I agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And that's why I started Humans of Australia. Like, one of
Yeah.
the biggest reasons why I started Humans of Australia is because I've been in Australia for so long.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, on social media, the life that I saw of people living in Australia, life is so not that way.
Yeah.
Like, it is amazing. I'm not saying life is not amazing in Australia.
yeah.
But you need to work so hard and do so many things to make your life that amazing.
Yeah.
But this all difficult part or whatever the struggle is or whatever the hard work is, that is never shown.
Yeah, and people don't talk about it.
People don't talk about
Yeah.
it. And you see that, like, for example, I will look at a profile, I'll be like, oh my
Yeah.
God, she has a PhD, that's so cool. Or she's made a game on mental health.
Yeah.
That is so cool. But you made that game because you went through depression and you had all of these things. But people will not realize that. People will just
Yeah.
look like, oh my God, she's a doctor, she's a doctorate, and she's done this really cool PhD thing. So I believe people look at your social media and even like I also used to do that. Like you look at people's social media like, oh my God, that person's done it, I can also do it. But when you actually go on the journey, you don't realize like what that person did, and then you're facing those things and you're like, shit, this is way too difficult. Like I thought, because
Yeah. People have that impression of like, oh, your life is perfect, but they don't see all the hard work and all the struggles behind it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I started sharing stories of people living in Australia so that they realize that, okay, it's all sunflower and roses and petals and sunshine.
Yeah.
But to get through there, there's been like a lot of digging and like sowing of seeds and watering, which you don't see. You only see what's
only
on
see
the
it
top.
positive.
You only see the positive. And what also happens a lot of times is what I've realized. Like people look at, supposing your profile or my profile, they look and they're like, oh my God, she's the founder. Oh my God, she's created a game. I will also go to Australia, like people back from Taiwan or people back from India. They look at our profiles and be like, okay, I'm also going to go to Australia, do a PhD, create a game. Or I'm also going to go to Australia and be a founder. But when they come to Australia, they're like, shit, earning money is so difficult. Getting job is so difficult. Getting into PhD, like doing a PhD is so taxing.
It's so much work.
Exactly.
I don't recommend it.
Exactly. Like
Exactly.
they don't realize
Yeah.
that, but on your profile it looks really cool. Like it's a very big deal to have a PhD.
Yeah.
So people are like, fine, I will also do it. But when they go on that journey, that's when they are so
Yeah.
messed up. So I feel the real bits or the true bits or the journey bits of it is missing, and that's where all the mental health issues start happening.
Yeah.
And that's why I started like Humans of Australia, so people read stories of people to realize that, okay, that person's great, but how that person became great
Yeah.
this is how it became great. So it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, it's not gonna, because like you don't see people's journeys. And I think like if you see somebody post something like, oh yeah, they did really well, and if you aspire to be that, that's okay.
Yeah.
As long as you also have to acknowledge like there is a lot of work
Agreed.
to get to that point. And I think that people should be a bit more like open about sharing the not so good parts of themselves on social media. Maybe LinkedIn is not the place to go, because like,
Agree.
yeah.
But then, see, if you say LinkedIn is not the place, now everyone
Yeah.
doesn't follow, the people who follow me on
Yeah,
LinkedIn
yeah.
might not follow me on Instagram, where I share my personal bits.
Yeah.
But then, how do they know? I can't divert them. Can't be like, hey, to get to know more detail of personal bits, follow me on Instagram. You can't even do that. So
Yeah.
you need to be so much more aware, and that's why I created all these stories,
Uh-huh.
so people can read and be like, okay, reality check.
Yeah.
You can be that, but remember, these can be things of it. So I feel
Yeah.
if you have it in your mind beforehand that you know that, okay, I might face these obstacles,
Yeah.
you're a little bit better prepared.
I think so. And especially like
You're mentally better prepared. At least you're mentally aware.
You need to be aware that like everything is a journey and there's like a process. And also really like coming to Australia is such an after COVID, but all the cost of living crisis.
Oh my
there's
God.
like there is a lot of issues that did stem from us
Yep.
being locked down for like COVID. And you kind of have to like recognize that that is something that the whole world collectively went through.
Yes.
And with like there's so many things that's happening around the world that's really messed up.
Oh my God.
And to be like keep on functioning and then like
Yeah,
even
true.
in this like weird world and trying to cope with the situation,
Yep.
I feel like it is a lot. Like I feel like everybody who studied during COVID, that was like the worst of times.
I agree.
Yeah.
Even like new people, forget
Yeah,
COVID,
yeah.
like people who came after COVID
Yeah.
are facing the repercussions that the country Australia had.
Exactly.
I know a lot of my friends have been made redundant
Yeah.
because the job market is bad. That affects their mental health.
Yeah.
And people are not getting jobs for like months, even though
Yeah,
they've
yeah.
experienced for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And they're not getting, it affects the mental health because they self-doubt.
Yeah.
When they self-doubt, they start going into like depression, or like it's not major, but there is,
Yeah.
you start going towards things like that. And
Yeah.
that's so bad for them.
And like, you know how like in the Maslow like pyramid of needs and you have to meet your basic needs and then so the tip of it is like self-actualization, and that's when you're like, okay, I know everything that
Yep.
I need to be. But if you can't even meet the most basic needs,
Yep.
you're kind of like, it just fucks the whole thing up.
Yep.
Like especially like now it's with the cost of living, like it's hard to find a house. It's hard to like groceries are so expensive now. So that's like the basic thing, right? Where you
Agreed.
live, what you eat, like a job.
A job, yeah,
And
true.
that kind of influences so much stuff.
Agreed. It does. It's that I feel there's so much added pressure, like compared to again another reason
Yeah,
why
yeah.
I feel there's a rise in
Yeah.
mental health is there's an added pressure to have
Yeah.
a particular lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like, and also get jobs because previously I'd say probably my parents' time and your
Yeah,
parents'
yeah.
time as well, there were set kind of jobs. Okay,
true.
engineer. There's like
yeah.
there's the sciences. There's like commerce. There's arts.
Yeah.
Like, and they have different little bit fields under them, or doctors or lawyers.
Yeah.
Like particular, like simple things. So people knew, okay, I want to get into this.
Yeah.
But now there's so many different kinds of fields, which is great, no doubt.
Yeah.
But that puts an added pressure, like, shit, where do I fall into? Is this for me or is this not for me? And you look at social media and you're like, oh my God, this person's doing amazing. I should do this. But before,
Yeah.
people didn't have to think. They're like, okay, I'm smart, I
Their
study,
parents.
I go
Yeah.
on the difficult bit. If I'm okay, I go here. If I'm
Yeah.
like really bad at it, I'll do this. And then the basic law before was there was not so much of like having a social life. For example,
Yeah.
travel has increased, which was not a case previously as much. I'm not saying
Yeah.
it wasn't there, but it was just like, oh, you get a good job. First you get an
Yeah,
education, you get a job, you get a house, you get a family.
Yeah.
And you grow
done.
old.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
it. And then you just pass on and the cycle continues. But now it's like, shit, I also want a house. I also want to like travel. I also need a job. It also needs to be flexible. But I also want to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And there's like so much added pressure.
I think that it's both ways, right? Because like before, like everybody have like a cookie cutter life.
Yes.
And people expect you to like, okay, you graduate, you just live this certain life. And now, like, because there's so many options out there, there's also that like decision like paralysis. You're like, yes, there's so many things I can do.
Yes.
Which is great. But also like there's no such thing as a set path anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a good thing, no doubt.
Exactly.
But it's
challenging.
it's confusing.
Yeah.
And you're like, shit. And plus, you say at a particular age, like someone who's 25
Yeah.
has achieved something, and you are 30 and you're like,
Yeah.
shit, what have I done in life? Have I not
Yeah.
achieved anything? And there's, as I said, again, on social media, you're comparing more. I'm not saying people didn't compare before.
But it's so much easier to compare now because you can see it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There's
and it's so easy. Yeah, but because now that there's so many options, there's no set path. There's no one before you. Like especially like if you're like a founder, like there's no model of what you should be doing.
Exactly. Yeah,
Like
true.
right, and you have to kind of figure things out on your own. And like sure, there's like support out there, but like really, it's your life, and it's like
Yeah.
that everything you do, like the pressure is a bit more because they're like,
Agreed.
Yeah.
And then there's also like there's so many added pressures. There's also paying your bills
Yeah.
and making money and asking about it. Probably I'm like depressed
Yeah.
all the time, which I don't even realize. No, I'm not like joking about it. I don't know.
I know, yeah.
Maybe or maybe
Yeah.
not. But I'm just like so focused in work.
Yeah.
A lot of that also got me into thinking. A lot of people are facing burnouts.
Yeah.
At this point of time, they're pushing themselves
Yeah.
to so much higher because of costs of living. Because people do jobs, but they also need to work extra
Yeah.
to meet basic lifestyle, like pay their rents, do bills, and
Yeah.
also if they want to travel or do anything or buy a house, like the interest rates have increased. So that's
yeah.
leading to burnout, and burnout is like creating worse mental health issues.
Yeah, because now, because of all these things that you can't even meet your basic needs, like especially in Australia, like everybody's like a hustler. Like so I have 2 jobs and a startup, and that's pretty common. Like a lot of people are doing like multiple jobs on top of each other, and doing so many things, and you kind of forget to make time for yourself.
Agreed.
And like set aside a certain time for you to rest.
Exactly. Like I've heard people say, and sometimes even it happens with me, people
Yeah.
feel guilty to rest.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
I also sometimes feel it, but I kind of also know what my body needs now. Like before, if I was gonna like, so I had a very busy start of October, and I was like literally speaking at like events like one after a week, and they're like completely different topics. So like that was a lot. And then, so what people see is like, oh, she's doing all these things. But really, I was so tired after it. And I was like, I just want a nap. And there was like the week after it, like on the day that I work on my startup stuff, I was like, I just want a nap. And I did. And I was like, this feels nice. I feel guilty that I'm not doing anything, but like your body needs it.
That gets me to like one of the questions that I have here. How do you manage your mental health in today's time? Like you realized your body needs it, but a lot of people are just like, as you said in Australia, it's become a hustle culture. Like you can't just have one job. Every person that at least I know of, one job and something else as well at minimum.
Yeah.
You know, so many people are doing. So how do you manage your mental health with so much going on in your life in Australia?
I think it's just like prioritize yourself, and sometimes you need to really make time for yourself. Like even if it's like just a weekend, like even just one day where you just like set aside that day, okay, it's a Sunday, I'm not gonna work. Like I'm really just going to relax, and it's like you have to really set aside a time for yourself to actually rest and do things that you love and do things that can help you. Because if you don't do it, like that's just gonna pile up, and then one day it's just gonna be like you're just gonna burst. So to prevent that from happening, you just need to like know what works for you. Like it's like sleeping or going for a walk or meeting up with friends. It can be like very easy things that make you happy. And give yourself time to do that.
True. And that's great advice. But how do you also know that you're going through something?
I think just really like recognizing stuff in ourselves, like recognizing like symptoms that we may be going through, things like, oh, if you're not sleeping well, or if you're losing your appetite, or if you like things that you used to love doing and suddenly you just don't want to do them anymore, you don't feel like doing things, like just recognizing those things. And like, because everybody, like we know ourselves the best, right? Like we know when we're happy, we know when we're like coping, and then when you feel like, oh it's just getting a bit more and more, that things are just adding up and I'm just not coping well anymore, and realizing like what that point is and where's the point that you need to like, okay, stop, I need to reel myself back in and then go back to that, like the mentally unwell and mentally well spectrum, like knowing where you are on that spectrum.
True. That's great advice. But as we spoke earlier, that there's this hustle culture, and people don't even have the time to like realize that something is going wrong, but something is massively going wrong. How do you, any advice for those kind of people?
I think sometimes you really need to just make time, because sometimes like you will just keep on doing things and keep doing things, and like you will reach a point of burnout. And also like even like sleep, like
Yeah.
everybody, a lot of people are in that sleep debt, wherein like, yes, okay, I'm gonna stay up late to do this, and this, and it reaches a point when your body will literally stop. Like your body will tell you that this
Yeah.
is not okay anymore, and you will reach that point where things are
Yeah.
just not working out anymore.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think like, yeah, it's really hard, right? Because you're like, there's so much responsibilities and there's so much pressure, but I think you also need to realize that you're also responsible for how you are as a person and how you're
True.
functioning as a person.
True, true. It is, but I think I think it's a
Yeah.
time. It's something that you need to give yourself time to.
Yeah.
And with over time,
Yeah.
you will realize either you're gonna blast or you realize on the way.
Uh-huh.
It's gonna be either of the two, because I know so many people who don't
Yeah,
even
yeah.
realize, because as you said, the hustle culture, they don't have
Yeah, yeah.
time to realize.
Yeah, they don't have time at all for themselves, but your body will tell you, I think.
Probably.
Yeah, but the goal is to not get to that point.
Yeah, obviously. Are there any, I'm also asking this because
Yeah.
I have seen this on TikTok or
Yeah.
on Instagram. There is so much content related to
Yeah.
mental health. Some say that, oh, you are this is what you should do to overcome, or these are the symptoms.
Yeah.
But then the others say other things. How do you know, or how do you recognize what's wrong and right for yourself?
I think you know yourself the best.
No, I mean, it's
right?
so varied
Oh, I know.
information.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
There's such varied information. How do you know what to rely on, is what I mean.
With social media, like you never know.
I know, you never know.
Yeah, there's also like with social media, there is so much bombardment of like information, and there's like, yeah, I mean, some give really good advice, but also some a bit questionable, and it's really hard to really know what's right or wrong.
Yep.
But I guess like one way is like you can also do your own research, like off social media, because social media you just see people's like opinions and things. Yeah, but if you really want to know like what's right for you, like just do your own research and see what are the more reliable sources say about something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are there any recommendations for websites in Australia specifically?
Yeah,
like if
yeah.
you need help. Are there websites or companies or,
Yeah.
or apps that people can use
Yeah.
to reach out for help?
Yeah.
Or, just, help themselves or whatever? Are there any recommendations?
There are a lot of like mental health organizations in Australia, and a lot of them actually do have like mental health resources that people can access for free. Also like Black Dog Institute. Batir was one that I used to volunteer with, so it's called Batir.
Yes, I know about it.
Yeah, and then they go to schools and they deliver like seminars, and then just really like let people know what. So their one I really like because it's really from like a lived experience, like speaker, and somebody that's speaking from their own experiences and connecting with people in a more personal way.
Okay.
And they also have an app. So where people can share their stories, and so what's the other ones? There's a lot like Beyond Blue. There's especially in Australia, there's so many like resources out there, and a lot of them is free that people can just go online. There's a lot of apps that's available, and so they're like you really don't really have an excuse to not.
Yeah. Sure. I think I've heard of Batir as well, and they're really nice. I agree. Like, and they're for free, right? The apps are free.
The apps
And
is free.
what is your video game about mental health? How does that help? Does it help mental health, or what is it for?
So mine is more of like the people who are going through, like who have lived experiences. So mine is not a therapeutic video games. Mine is more of like we create this game as a form of like creative self-expression, so that the people who are going through these things, they're using video games to show what it feels like.
Okay.
And because video games is so multidisciplinary, there's so many different ways for them to share their stories. Like there's the narrative, music, art, and so they can express how they feel in these like different ways. And we create these games together. So it's like a shared like experience, and then everybody who's working in the game all have similar experiences. So one, you know that you're not alone in how you feel. And the games that we create, we release them online so that other people can play it, and then they realize that, oh, like there are other people who are going through the same things and I'm not alone.
Okay, yeah, that sounds really
Yeah.
interesting. Is your app yet launched or what? Your game,
yeah.
is it launched?
Yeah, so a lot of them are actually available online, so it's all free for people to play.
What is it called?
So it's called Mental Jam. So
Okay.
my website is just Hello Mental Jam, and there's like 5 games up there that I created as part of the PhD. So like each game is made with different groups of people. So there's like different experiences. And
Okay.
I think because of how I look like, a lot of my participants are also from similarly like diverse backgrounds.
Okay.
So there's like a more multicultural lens to things.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is one thing that because you come from multicultural background, and you said a lot of multicultural people have used your application. What is one thing that you've seen like similarity when it comes to mental health when it comes to multicultural people?
Like sometimes, like so because I'm a third culture kid, so I'm Chinese, Taiwanese, but I grew up in the Philippines. And then I find that when I meet people like from Malaysia or Singapore, so they're also like Chinese who grew up in a different country.
Yeah.
Like a lot of our upbringing, even though we're like from completely different countries, are very similar.
Yep.
Like, you know, all the parental expectations, like,
Yep.
and academic pressures, and probably the cause of a lot of our trauma.
Yes. Childhood trauma, a lot of childhood trauma.
Yeah. And then when you see that, you're like, oh, other people went through the same things.
Yeah.
And because so all of the participants that I worked with for my research are all like currently in recovery. So they're all currently in a state when they're mentally well. And one of my participants, she said like when she saw like those like people's stories and like knowing that yes, there were bad experiences, like, but they were able to get to the end of it and then cope with it. That gives them a lot of hope because they're like, oh, like everybody has bad days, and that's okay. Like yes, it's a bad experience, but know that it's also just part of the journey.
Yeah.
And like the goal is to like get to that point where you're okay again, and then seeing that. People who also have similarly bad experiences were able to get to the other side and become better. That gives you like that hope, like, oh, I can also get better.
Okay, that's nice. Also, because you've done a PhD, and it has an aspect of mental health, what is a myth of mental health that you would like to debunk, or you also were like, okay, shit, I don't know, and this is like a total myth?
I think a lot of people, like when they talk about the term mental health, what they actually mean is mentally ill or something, and a lot of people will be like, I also know somebody has mental health. Yeah, everybody has mental health. Like a lot of people don't think about it as something that all of us literally have mental health.
Yep, true.
In the same way as physical health, and like the way that people think about like our mind, like you should just think about our whole body as the same thing. Like, yes, you can be mentally well. You could also be mentally unwell. Like, you can get sick, like physically sick, and you also get better. So, yeah, just really like letting everybody know, yes, we all have mental health.
True. I feel it should, just like I think probably stupid thing, but I feel how much you pay for physical health to a GP, you should be able to pay the same amount to a mental health doctor, but mental health doctors are so much more expensive.
Yeah. Well, even if you go to a GP, it's like a base cost, right? But then if you go to a specialist, it's also kind of expensive.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Fine, give it to you. Okay, like specialist.
But yeah.
In Australia, all of these things are really expensive.
It is. Like, but you can get a mental health plan, which gives you a few sessions.
Is it in your Medicare or?
No, everybody can have it, can get it. Like if you're paying, like, so you just go to a GP and then you could get a mental health plan and you could get a few sessions. But yeah, it's not a lot.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But eventually if you have to get it, it is really expensive.
Yeah, it's like if you need more. I would advise people to take advantage of their work or their university because like that's, like all universities have mental health support. That's like free for students.
Yeah. Is it? What? I didn't know about this.
Yeah. So there is like I feel like a university do a lot, and then a lot of students are not aware of all the services.
Agreed.
Yeah. So if you're a student, like take advantage of your university.
Does RMIT have, because you came
RMIT
from
did, yeah. RMIT
Oh,
does.
Then how do people in RMIT specifically reach out to the?
Oh,
Like, is there a?
There is. So if there's like a website where you could just make an appointment.
Oh, okay, what is the website called? Do you know?
So it's through the RMIT Connect. So it will be like where people usually make appointments for like
Okay.
everything at the uni, and you could just select that you want like a counseling appointment.
And it's free
It is free, yes.
for students.
Yeah, for students. But if you're like if you're working, a lot of like work has like the professional like services that they do offer, like EAP.
Yeah.
Yeah, so check what your company offers and like really take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Because
True. A lot of people, it depends, it's bigger companies, but that's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
great. I've also started noticing a lot of companies started including like
Yeah.
mental health day break once a month. You can take one mental day, one mental health day off. Which
so
is
good.
that
Yeah.
is that is so nice, which wasn't the case earlier.
Yeah.
So times are changing, it's getting better, but it's also getting worse at the same time.
Yeah, but the worst is like it's just the whole world basically that's adding all these pressures on people.
Agreed.
Yeah.
There's like, I think everything around the world is just going down the drain.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Climate, like, political relations, mental health, diseases. Like, you hear one after the other new disease coming in, and like, shit.
It's
Another
like,
COVID, can't do this.
I was like, no, I can't. We can't go through another like lockdown. And,
if it happens again, I'm not getting out of my house. Like, I'm gonna be done with the world.
right? And
Yeah.
it's just so hard. There's just so much things that, like, so many things that's happening in the world right now that like wasn't before.
Exactly. And the worst part is that I get it. Like, everyone's vaccinated for COVID.
Yeah.
But like compared to what we faced in Australia and specifically in Melbourne during the lockdown because of COVID, to now, even if you or I have COVID, we can go out, we can go to work, we can go to office.
Yeah.
There's no restriction. And at that point of time, there was so excessive and extreme restriction. Like, I get it. It was new to the world. People were dying. Are you saying people are not going to die anymore?
Yeah, I know, right?
I know. You're like, what the hell?
Like, it's still around.
I'm not saying that wasn't a good move, but that was an extreme move.
Yeah.
Which, put the country in like heavy debts.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they borrowed a lot of money to support businesses. They gave a lot of money, and now they're in debts.
Yeah, and like isolation is also like one of the reasons why like there's a lot of issues on the rise, because like we're human, we're used to like talking to people, we're used to seeing people and going out, and even just like going out and getting your like even on your like way to go to work, you'll get sunshine, right? Like vitamin D, you'll get some walk, and like suddenly everybody just being trapped in the house and like not having like you're essentially like depriving everyone of that human connection, and that has such a negative effect.
Agreed.
And even coming out of it, like now we're all quite like anxious. There's so many things that's always like happening.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And for a month or two, I'd say okay, fine, that's understandable.
Yeah.
But Melbourne specifically went on for a year.
Yeah.
And
it was quite
that's
crazy.
way too long. It's like, I
Mm-hmm.
felt personally, it's my take on it, having like really strict parents, and they're like, don't go out, stay at home. And we had a curfew, having like really strict parents, be at home at 9, and then do not go out. And you're like, shit, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Like, people are literally scared to go out. I remember during COVID, my friend lived literally across where I lived.
Yeah.
And I went to her house and it was 9. And I didn't realize it was 9:30 and 9 o'clock was the curfew time. And I'm like, shit, how will I go home? I need to go home. I literally went down like I was sneaking, like a thief.
Yeah.
I was like, is anyone there? So like, I was running across the streets and I was like, shit, did anyone see me?
Yeah.
I was so scared. I was petrified of going back to my house. I didn't want to stay over at my friends. I was like literally right across. That was the whole scenario.
That was a really weird time.
Yeah. It was really weird. I completely agree. And I know so many people who broke the rules, like as in meeting friends, because they had to meet friends.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to.
Yeah.
Like online just doesn't really have that same like effect.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Online is so boring.
Exactly.
Like, it's really nice, no doubt. But after a point of time, you need physical connection, attention, and it's only possible through meeting in person.
Exactly, because like, and screen fatigue. Like if you're like staring at your screen like the whole day, like we went on like so many Zoom calls that just went on for hours. I was
agree.
like, it was a weird time. Like it was good then,
Yep.
but like I wouldn't go back to it.
Yep.
Yeah, I do realize that like because of COVID now, people are more used to like having like work from home days or like working online.
Oh my God, you know what that reminds me? A lot of people are, if the workplace is not hybrid, they're just like, okay, they reject the offer. Even I would, I cannot imagine, I don't know, this is so weird, but I'm so sure you'd agree as well. I cannot imagine going to office 5 days a week.
I do not.
Yeah. It's like stressful. That causes mental health issues. Like you're stressed like shit, I have to go 5 times a week. This is way too much.
Yeah, I like how a lot of office like places are now like more flexible. Cause like even though like a lot like when I was working before, like we were going to the office every day. But like you realize how much more time and like how much nicer it is to work from home. So I think just having a balance. If I were to work from home like completely, I feel like I'd be a bit fed up as well. But having that flexibility, like, oh yeah, today I want to go to work and I want to see people and be sociable. But like if I need to do like really focused work and I can't be distracted by, I'm a chatty person. So if I'm...
Yes, true.
I get to be chatty. But like, having that balance.
Agreed. But I was looking at one of these news channels, report. They were like, out of 10 CEOs, 8 CEOs are talking about, in Australia I'm talking specifically, are talking about going back to work from office days. And they're like, it makes no sense. Like, COVID is over, everything is over. So, and working from office is the actual thing.
But then, because they're already paying for the office space, that's why they want people to go in. But, like, it has also been proven that people are also quite, like, productive at home.
Agreed. Like, there are like two ways. Like I would, if I ever, like I work for myself, but if I ever if I work for someone or if I, my team as well, I would never tell them to work 5 days from office. Like I feel you need those work from home days to keep you mentally sane. It's a lot of mental preparation to go to office now.
Exactly. And now like, and for me, sometimes I think of my work from home days as like, oh, I get 2 extra hours. Because then I'm not like sitting on the train. I don't have to like, so you actually get to be more productive. You
Exactly.
And you also tend to be able to focus more when you're at home. Because like there's less less chats.
I think a hybrid system is great. Because when you go to office, you know the importance of work from home, and when you work from home, you know the importance of going to office, and then like you can use both the times respectively. Like when I used to work, when I used to go to the office, I loved going to the office, no doubt, but I couldn't work at all because the people around, and then you want to chit chat with them, and I'm like, okay, I sit on one thing, and a new person comes, and you're like, oh hi, and then you're like, oh, okay. I do want to talk, but I also have work to finish.
Same.
Like, what do I do? Then I'll end up talking just so that the other person doesn't feel bad or whatever it is. And then when I'm from home, is when I actually finish everything work-wise.
Same.
But I cannot do all days also work from home because that social interaction is important.
I guess just that like
a balanced thing.
It has to be a balance. So all for hybrid.
I feel workplaces should realize like this is happening in the US. A friend of mine, he works at Tesla. They have gone full work from office.
Full,
like all these big companies in the US. US is going back to work from office.
I saw Elon Musk's tweet, and he's like, I want people to be in offices and not those fake co-working spaces. For some reason, he's against co-working spaces.
He is just different.
Let's
put it, he's different, and I don't want to say anything about
it.
but because like imagine such big companies, and if US has a space,
Yeah.
like a country which has so much dominance,
Yeah.
like that mind, like their mindset has influence over the entire world.
Yeah.
If companies out there are going from work from office, eventually the entire world will also start pushing work from office, work from office, work from office.
Yeah, like I think some companies, like there are different companies. Some realize that, oh, we don't need to be paying for office spaces anymore. So a lot of my friends actually are now completely fully work from home.
Okay.
So because I'm from the Philippines, traffic is like really, really bad.
Okay.
So like a lot of companies and even like their workers realize like if they don't need to be spending all these time like just being stressed about going to work and physically like
Yep.
like physical travel time, they're actually more productive.
Yep.
So a lot of those companies actually just switch to completely work from home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it is nice.
Yeah.
You know, I feel this topic about work from home and work from office is like
Yeah.
a full on.
I think
give it
yeah,
another
yeah.
whole podcast.
Exactly. And
where
there's,
we can
like,
just talk
we
about
can
it.
just do it.
I
Yeah.
Whatever companies want to do, they can do. But
Yeah.
I think both of us would recommend it should be hybrid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. For my mental health, I feel that's the most sane thing to do.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back, what is any final advice on people, just being diagnosed about mental health, or someone going through mental health issues, or someone who's recovering? What's your advice?
Just take care of yourself and be kind to yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, and also be kind to others because you never know what other people are going through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. And I also wanted to add to that is it is okay to go through mental health issues.
Yeah.
It's completely okay. Like, don't put yourself down. And at any age, like,
Yeah.
be it kids or an adult, like as we were talking earlier, lots of
Yeah.
people at an adult stage are being diagnosed with ADHD, whereas they should be diagnosed as kids.
Yeah.
So it is okay,
Yeah.
even if it's late than never.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be very helpful, and it's also okay to ask for help.
Exactly. Like also just be kind and also know when things are getting bad that it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah,
And just be a bit more like open about it.
agreed. And if you can't afford professional help,
Yeah.
just talk to your friends and family.
Yeah. And knowing that there's like different types of support that you can get as well.
Yep,
Yeah.
true.
And know what are the types of support that you can get and what kind of people you can lean on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true, 100%. It's also make sure you lean onto the right people.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, that is also
Yeah.
like I was just thinking about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you lean on to like some bad people, it's gonna be so bad for you.
Oh true. Yeah.
But it's a trial and test. You never know what works out for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else that you would like to add?
I think that's about it. Yeah.
I actually want to just put this out there for like our
Yeah.
audience. If you are going through mental health and or you have been through anything, if you have any advice, let us know in the comments below. It'd be so helpful for people they're watching or hearing this. So let us know if you've been through something. Your stories also matter, and it might just help someone else as well who's going through something similar. Now, let's move on to the rapid fire round.
Okay.
It's gonna be fun. Nowhere related to mental health. And if you perform well, you're gonna get an Anchor Cookie Co hamper.
Oh, cute.
Yes. It's gonna be fun and it's gonna be rapid, and I would love some controversial, dramatic stuff. Though my questions,
Yeah.
I would love some drama.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's make some drama.
I live for drama. I would love to be in like a reality TV show, but
Yeah.
no.
This can be the start of it. Yeah.
Oh, you never know.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go for it. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Tea, okay. What's your favorite cafe in Melbourne?
Oh, I recently discovered that oh shit, I forgot the name of the place. But there's this new drink called Sakurate, which is like a sakura latte
Okay.
from Little Rogue.
Okay.
Yeah, that was really nice. But the sad thing is, like, I thought it would be pink as sakura, but it was actually a gray drink. But it's really tasty.
How's it gray?
I don't know why. Yeah, but it was like gray.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah.
What is the most overrated thing about Australia?
Kangaroos.
I feel they're cute but scary.
Yeah, and like I feel like I used to be in the UK, and then like when I was moving to Australia, all my friends are like, "Oh, so you're gonna be around all the like animals and stuff." It's like I live in the city. I don't actually see them.
Yeah, true. You don't see them in the city, except sometimes. I don't know how recently there was this really big spider in my like bathroom.
Uh-huh.
And then also the bathroom that's inside. Like, I have two bathrooms. So one is in the outside, one is in the inside. And there was this really big spider, and I was like, shit.
How did it get in?
I think one of these days, I was wearing a really long coat. Maybe it got on my coat. And it was a small baby. I think when I got out, it grew big in the bathroom. I have a feeling. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But that was so scary. Like, literally, if I was, luckily I just entered. If I was like using the washroom, I'd literally run out of my washroom and it'd be so awkward. But
not a fan of spiders either.
And this one was so creepy. It had like a tiny body with such big tentacles.
Oh, it's like the long ones.
Like long ones.
Yeah.
I know. And then I made my partner kill it.
Yeah.
And my partner hates killing insects. So I was like, shut up, I don't want to die. You kill it.
Kill it. Just take it outside.
Yeah, just take it outside. Okay, great. What is the most underrated thing about Australia?
I think the food. But I think when people ask me when they visit, like, oh, what's a very like Australian food? And I think about Melbourne, like yes, there's Australian food. And there's
What
like,
is Australian food?
I would say like mabu mabu. So they're the ones that have like indigenous Australian food, which is really good. And then actually one of my friends is like, oh, I want to try Australian food. It's like, so I took her there and then we had like kangaroo and like emu and like, it was really good.
Yep.
But what people don't realize about Melbourne is like the fact that it's so multicultural and it has so many food from different countries that are really authentic that
true.
It's really, I feel like people, when they think about Australia, they'll think like, oh yeah, maybe like a fish and chips or a schnitzel. But like, I rarely eat those. Like I would usually just go to a Chinese place or an Indian place. And there's so many options.
There's so many options. Like when I had, so I've eaten ramen before, but when I like had ramen here, I was like, damn, this is so good.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I had something like authentic ramen. It was just like, you can experience different cultures.
Exactly, yeah.
Through the food palette. So that is really nice. I agree. It's very underrated.
Yeah.
If for 24 hours, you could make something for $1, what would it be?
Like I have $1 to spend or?
No. For example, you can make anything. What would you make something for $1? Like people can buy it for $1. Like you would buy it for $1. What is something for 24 hours if you had the power to be?
Okay, that's a tough one. Like, what will people buy from me? Oh, I think
doesn't have to be buy from you.
Oh, just take from
anything.
me.
Like anything. You could also buy it for like $1. What would it be? For example, I would say I'd make food for $1 cheap.
I don't know. I can't think about anything. Like I'll probably make a game, to be fair, because like I feel like the cost of that and then like 24 hours, it won't be a very complicated game. It will just be a tiny thing that people can play.
Yep. Okay. What are 3 local businesses or small businesses in Australia that you think should be viral?
Oh, there's quite a lot.
Could be anything related. Just to give you an example, it could be food, it could be clothing, it could be another business, it could be a gaming app, it could be a university, anything. But 3 small or not so recognized businesses that you think should be viral.
I don't know why the first thing that came to my mind right now is the July suitcase.
They are big.
They're
and they're really expensive.
They are, but they're so good. They're so lightweight.
Oh, is it?
They're actually like one of the most lightweight suitcases you can get. Mostly because I'm traveling this weekend. I was like, oh, I need to start packing my suitcase. And it's by an RMIT alumni. Like they're the ones who made it. Yeah, it is an expensive suitcase, but I feel like it's
worth it.
Pretty worth it. Yeah, because like especially like the hand carry one, you're always looking for the lightest suitcase possible. Then you could.
True, I agree. Like you get 7 kgs out of the 3 kgs your bag takes, and you're like, what the hell do I fit in 4 kgs? Yeah. And Jetstar is so damn particular.
They're super stingy. But if you get a July one, it's less than 3 kgs. I think it's like probably 1 point something kgs for the tiny one. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, expensive, but I think it's worth it.
Okay.
Yeah. What's the other? I think of food. Um, Loon is probably very overrated, but I do actually like their croissants.
I love the almond
Yeah.
croissant. Like Loon's almond croissant
Yeah,
is.
I like their plain and their ham and cheese ones.
I love their plain croissant. I think
Exactly.
people say it is overrated, but I
Yeah.
don't think it. Like it
It's
is
good.
It's
It's
worth
good.
it. It is
Yeah,
so good.
and I like the plain ones because then you're like you can actually feel that flaky layers of it. Yeah,
And you can taste the butter as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Like, and you can see the airiness. Oh my god, you're making my mouth water.
Oh, now we're hungry. It's like, what's my third one? I feel like a lot of like you don't know if they're like small businesses. You're not really sure if they're Australian or not. So it's like trying to think about like what are the Australian small businesses I know. Like, oh, I'm gonna say a game then.
Yeah.
So the Untitled Goose game. So you play as a goose, and then you
Okay.
go and terrorize like people in a village. So it's a really fun game.
What? You terrorize people in a village and that's fun?
Yeah, because you're a goose. And then you can't really like fly or anything. You're just walking around, you're honking at people, you're stealing things from them.
Okay.
And they currently have like an exhibit at Acme showing the process of how they made the game. And they are also an RMIT alumni.
Okay. What is it called again?
Untitled Goose Game.
Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah, like you play as a goose.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to think of another question, which I'm gonna get. Trying to like frame it. I do have a question, but I'm just trying to frame it.
Yeah.
Okay, what is a rumor? Because you're from the gaming industry.
Yeah.
What is a rumor that you would like to spread in the gaming industry? Could be anything. Could be fictional.
Yeah,
Like, doesn't
okay,
have to
okay.
be like you have to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
But if you had the chance, like if you were ever spreading a rumor, what would be a rumor that you would like to spread?
That there's money in video games. Because like it's so hard to make money sometimes, and then a lot of people going into video games, they think like, yes, you could just put anything in the app store, you're gonna make millions if you're lucky. And there's a lot of like, luck involved.
You can make millions, but
You can,
that's like
yeah.
1 in 1,000 is what I'd say.
I think so. Yeah. So
Yeah. It's all about luck
at the end
and
of the-
timing.
and marketing, and there's like so many things that influence it.
So many
Yeah, yeah.
expenses to make it really famous.
I think so.
True. Amazing. That's it for a rapid fire round.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was a lot of fun talking to you, and
Yeah.
that was really good. Like I liked some of your answers. So
Yeah.
here is your Anka Cookie
Aw,
Co hamper.
thank
that we would like to
you.
give it to you.
I love the
Thank you.
I love the tote bag.
Yeah, so
Yes.
try to be a little bit sustainable.
Yeah,
so that's
yeah,
a tote bag that you can reuse.
Yeah.
But
And I really like the logo.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you
you.
so much, Michelle, for being there. This conversation was
Yeah.
truly candid and truly unfiltered.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like we just like rambled on. Yeah.
It's just about rambling. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
yeah.
It's just a chat. We're
Yeah.
just getting to know each other.
Yeah.
And people learn in the process. Yeah. But anyway, hope you guys learned. And if you have any questions, put it down in the comments below. And I'm so sure Michelle wouldn't mind answering them. But thank you so much. Thank you, Michelle, and thank you so much for joining us today.